Welcome to the fourth episode of MCEO Talk. I am your host, Vincenzo Landino. Joining me tonight, I have four guests on our panel. A little different than normal. Four, yes, thank you, Yarby, for pointing that out for me, pal. I have Jason Yarby, Yarborough, Ben Figo, aka Ben Phillips, Casie Shimansky, and Ashley Pengilly from Hey Let's app. I probably killed her name, but I apologize. Whatever, it is what it is.
It's okay.
People butcher my name all the time too. I get used to it. But because we had some snafu with technology, I'm gonna go right into introductions. Starting with Ashley, we'll go Ashley, Ben, Casie, and Jason. So little intro here for the crowd. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Ashley Pengilly. I am social media and community at Hey Let's. We're a new startup based out of San Francisco. We're basically trying to change the way that you social share through recommendations instead of ratings and reviews. So tweet at me at Ashley_Pengilly on Twitter if you have any questions, and I'll get right to you. And download Hey Let's.
Download Hey Let's. You got to rock out. Download Hey Let's.
Yeah, join me on there.
I'm on Hey Let's. So actually, I met Ashley through Hey Let's. That's how I got to know her, was because she was like, hey, check out this app, and I somehow saw it. And it's a very cool app. I don't use it nearly as much as I should be. I'm not going to lie, but it is a fantastic app. So go check it out. Hey Let's. Ben Figo, what's up, buddy? How are you?
How's it going? My name is Ben. For those of you who don't know me, very few of you probably don't, because I'm constantly tweeting at all times. I hail from Fresno, California, Central California, farm-raised in all those other smart remarks. I'm huge into Snapchat. I love it. I'm not the greatest at it, but I'm definitely one of the most excited. And my day timing, because
You work?
I work too. I actually work. I have to pay bills.
What's work? I don't know what work is.
None of us do. No, I work for Home Instead Senior Care. I'm the general manager for our office here in Fresno, and we provide non-medical home care for seniors, keeping them home instead of having to go into a facility or anywhere else. So I help with all the day-to-day operations and some marketing with that as well.
Thank you.
Nice. Casie.
Hey guys, my name is Casie from Orlando, Florida, by way of New Jersey, and I just had my boyfriend bring me a beer because I was jealous of everyone else. So that's all what that commotion was going on.
Someone else here is drinking.
Coffee is over.
Coffee's overrated.
Yeah, so thanks to Sean for bringing me some beer. I am
Thanks,
a social media manager down here for a hospitality education company. You can usually find me in the theme parks. I've worked for Disney and Universal, and I just about go to them all the time. So, yep, I'm all over, photographer, writer, play with some video. So that's my thing.
Yarby.
Perfect. Hey guys, Jason Yarborough. Obviously with the last name Y, I'm used to going last, so it's okay that I'm getting introduced last. I'm okay with that. I am conference director of strategy at Social Fresh Conferences. We just announced our newest conference. You can get the link from Vince. I also am founder of the Wild Letters. I love to travel, which is why I started the Wild Letters. Maybe we'll tell more about that later. I also love coffee, and I also brought a drink, so cheers, guys.
I'm so happy I can participate now.
It wasn't cool, when Yarby comes in and he's like, I'm drinking out of a mason jar, and the rest of us are sitting here with...
Well, I do live in North Carolina, so
I was going to say, I
jar
think
is
that's
the
a
only
requirement.
appropriate thing to bring to the table.
And I had to copy you just to be cool and, and join in the fun. But tonight we wanted to talk a little bit about social storytelling, a little something different. I don't know if it's an actual fact or an actual term, but we made it up for the show, and we're going to talk about it tonight. So let's just jump right in. What is social storytelling? What do you think the term even means? And whoever wants to jump in first, go ahead. We're going to start with the ladies. So the guys, you can sit back. Of the two ladies, someone jump in first.
I guess I'll just chime in. I mean, essentially, I think social storytelling has a lot to do with how a brand communicates what it does for someone through, something that people can connect with, whether, it's video. Primarily, we're speaking of social, so, we're trying to connect people with our brands and our businesses by sharing stories that relate them to our products so that we're just not a stagnant, object or piece.
I will pretty much follow her on that. I think for me, social storytelling is just storytelling by means of the tool that is social media.
Ooh, Captain
I
Obvious.
know, right? Oh, you and I are gonna have fun because you're are you New York or are you New Jersey?
I'm Connecticut, even worse.
Oh God.
Oh, really? It's worse than New Jersey?
Oh,
I didn't think it was possible, but
yeah. Well, at least you're not Boston. Sorry, Boston.
so true, so true. We don't have anyone from Boston hanging out with us right now. But I'm sure
right now, Twitter's gonna melt in a second.
yeah, don't worry about it. Only telling the truth. Be real, Casey. Be real.
No, that's you know what that's the problem when you come from New York and New Jersey and that whole little tri-state area. You have a sense of you don't sugarcoat things, so you just see how they are. But yeah, for me, it's about taking an image. It's about taking 140 characters and telling what's going on in that moment and capturing someone with that quickly, because most of these things you don't even 5 minutes is a long time for some people. I'll sit there throughout the day and videos will pop up, and 5 minutes I might not have 5 minutes. I have 2 or 3. So it's keeping it into that spectrum too.
I'm glad you said 140 characters because that's referring to a specific platform. But as we get into it, we are going to find out some other platforms that other panelists here are proficient in. But let's just keep that in mind. So speaking of that, Ben Figo, my man Thor, my good friend, talk to me. What is social storytelling to you?
Yes, I am back. I'm experiencing some technical difficulties here, but I think I'll work through them.
Go for it. Go for it. What's social storytelling then?
All right. What is social storytelling to me? Well, let's see. Essentially, in my opinion, social storytelling is really just kind of communicating a message, just doing it in a way that people actually can understand and that actually resonates with people on the other end. It's really important, though, is that with social storytelling, it's all about having an audience before going out and trying to push a story. Storytelling is essentially communicating with people you already know and have a connection with. It's not just ramming a message down people's throats and hoping it catches. It's something very different than that.
That is such a good point that you bring up, Ben, where it's talking to people you already know. It's hard to tell a story, and I'm with you on this. It's hard to tell a story to someone you don't know. They may not even want to hear you. So, again, a great point, and we'll probably circle back to that a little later. Yarby, my man in North Carolina.
Here we go. So here's the thing about following everybody out. You guys have already said all the smart stuff. So my definition of storytelling is it's messaging that truly embodies the brand. It starts with identifying objectives and goals, but then it takes into consideration your people, or like just as a story, your characters in your story and the audience, and you begin telling that story with the core of your brand and your messaging through and through. And I think it's something that should be unique and noticeable and inspiring and engaging, just almost like reading a short story of a book, through the social platforms. But it kind of keeps people enthralled with what you're doing, like they wait for what you're going to share next.
And you all bring up solid points, bringing us really to where I want to talk about what are you all proficient in, what works for you, how do you tell your stories. I know you all tell stories in different ways, but for everyone else, let me know. We'll start with Yarby here. Yarby has a unique perspective, and Yarby, I want you to talk a little bit about the Wild Letters when you answer this question, because I think it's a fantastic page, and it's about experiences. It's very similar to what Ashley, the startup is over there is doing with Hey Let's. But talk to us a little bit about the Wild Letters and how you're proficient in blogging as a storytelling medium.
Proficient's very generous of you.
All right, you are better than most. Forget it. Proficient is not the word. You're right.
The Wild Letters was started because I really enjoy traveling, and part of my bio is I have a serious weakness for new experiences, and I kind of wanted to start sharing those experiences, and I started thinking about how I can write, how I can share the story, and what that looks like, and I came up with the concept of the Wild Letters. They're basically letters and stories kind of from the road, from other people, about experiences. And the tagline that I landed on was explore the experience. And what that means is to look deeper into what you're doing and where you're at and where you're going. Not just like the cool donut shop or the cool whiskey bar or the latest and greatest place, but really look deep into what the experience is doing with you and through you and around you, and what you walked away with on your trip to, Rhode Island or Durham, North Carolina. So I've got a lot of blogs about my last 4 months on the road that I explored the experience and how intentional it was, and I just want to tell the whole story about what my experience on the road means to me.
I love your blog. If you haven't checked out Yarby's blog, thewildletters.com, check him out even on Twitter at thewildletters. Again, it's about experiences. So while we're sticking to experiences, I'm going to have Ashley answer as well. And how is Hey Let's? Let's face it, you're here representing Hey Let's app. How is that app changing or bringing a new way to tell a story?
Yeah. So, just kind of a little bit of a rundown of what we do. We're all about experience as well. So, people go to our app to recommend the things that they love. So we're bypassing, negative ratings and reviews to inspire people more to go out and experience something. So, if you find, a new hidden gem in town, if you know the perfect place to watch a sunset, if you've seen a show and you think it's something that your friends shouldn't miss, you share the experience through a recommendation. And our platform is very similar to Twitter meets Instagram. It's really concise, 200-character limit, accommodated by a photo or a video. So people are able to share their experiences and build this catalog of the things that they love and enjoy and recommend for their friends to do. So not only do your friends and family get to see the things that you enjoy and wish list and add that to their list of things to do, but it allows you to reflect and look back at the moments in your life that you enjoyed a particular experience. We have this bias to talk a lot more about the negative things and remember the negative things, whereas we need to move forward with a more positive mindset. And so Hey Let's is trying to, in somewhat, condition us to be more positive and to share the more positive experiences online, just since we tend to go online to complain more than anything else. So it's kind of this new movement, this new wave where people are kind of like, hey, I go to these rating and review sites, they're incredibly long, they're incredibly negative, I don't get inspired to experience something new. So we're just essentially, creating this new community of people who are passionate about sharing things that are awesome. So our story, you go to us and every single story that you go on there is something that people would say, hey, I really enjoyed this. So we have a very positive social storytelling community.
Yeah, and I love the app. I've been using the app before it was actually in the App Store. Again, I'm not a pro. I haven't been using it nearly enough as I should be, but I was using it early on, and I think it's fantastic. Focusing on positivity, focusing on, hey, tell a good story. I remember when you guys put out there, you were looking for ambassadors in different cities, and the biggest thing that you wanted was people that told a good story. It wasn't just facts. It was tell a story, make it compelling for someone else that wants to go there, and keep it positive as well. So I love that. That's such a great. It's a great app, and hopefully it catches on more so on the East Coast. In Connecticut,
Oh yeah, Connecticut's not a big market. New York's actually, New York's actually fairly large for us. We're in 91 countries at this point, so we've been growing. It's been catching on just from the fact that people want to be inspired more, and so we're essentially a storyboard to inspire people to go out and just experience something totally new. And it's fun. I enjoy reading the little short stories of someone they come up with all kinds of creative stuff. I've seen it all where people, have written down on their experience. I was drunk stumbling around the sidewalk, and I somehow found this falafel place. It looks awful, but oh my God, is it amazing? You must go, the most perfect 2 a.m. food ever. And it's just those things that I'm like, hey, if I passed it on the street, I would probably never go, but because I heard this, inspirational story about or kind of comical story about this falafel place, I would probably, in some sense be like, hey, I really want to check it out. I don't care if it's a hole in the wall. So we're just kind of redefining the way that we all get inspired in the way that we share online.
Ben and Casie have a couple, their viewpoints are a little bit different. Casie, we're going to start with you. Yours is from a nonprofit point of view, and specifically your work with St. Baldrick's, but I know you have some other experience as well. So tell me a little bit about that, the platforms you're using, what you're proficient in when it comes to storytelling from the nonprofit side of things.
Sure. I have to tell you, though, first, I downloaded Hey Let's like months ago, and it's sitting here on my phone because I'm in Orlando.
Well, you know what? All right, so because you brought up Hey Let's again, and I'm going to say it. What I think is great about Hey Let's, and this is probably a topic for a whole other day, but a lot of people go out just so they can post it on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter to their friends. But I think with Hey Let's, it's all about go out, have a great experience, and then talk about it. Not necessarily going out just to have the experience, just to show everybody. It's more about going back later and saying, wow, that was really enjoyable. I had a great time. I wasn't glued to my phone. I wasn't trying to check in. I wasn't trying to do this, because there's no emphasis on that. There's no gamification of the system where, like, oh, I have points and I'm on the leaderboard and I have to go check in and be the mayor of this, whatever.
You guys are going to get me in trouble.
That's why I'm saying. So,
I'm going to get a really angry email from some of these companies, and I'm just going to be like, I did not say anything.
You did not. Vincenzo Landino said it. So.
Just tell them Yarby said it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yarby's fault anyway.
Blame it on everyone else.
But the thing
really,
about an app like that is it's really important. I mean, a lot of people think that I am glued to my phone because of what I do and I post a lot, and so therefore you must always be on your phone. I think Brian Fanzo even said something once where a lot of people
said
realize.
A lot of things.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I'm just going to attribute everything to him. But I think he basically had said, like, a lot of people think you're on your phone in a rude sort of way when really you're connecting with people and they don't realize, sending out a photo or a tweet or an Instagram, whatever, is a connection to a lot of people. It's not that you're ignoring the people you're with even. But to like an app like Hey Let's, to their credit, it's awesome because I don't have to do it in that moment like so many of the other sites. I can go back and then talk about that awesome experience. And so people can get off my dang case about being
Off my dang case.
I just unfriend them. I'm like, forget that. You don't understand.
That kind of negativity in my life.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just wanted to let you know that because I like that. So
Thank you.
I'm gonna get my 2 cents in there. But yeah, so with St. Baldrick's, I started about 5 years ago with them. I am their official photographer down here in Brevard, which is one of the largest chapters. I think I didn't look at the numbers for this year, but we're usually in the top 10 worldwide for fundraising events. And this year we had hit our $1 million event. I don't even know what the final total is, but over $1 million in 5 years for children's cancer research. And so I've been very honored to be their photographer down in Brevard, and they're very good to me. We do, I mean, predominantly with that, it's all photography based. I edit the photos and then we sent them out. And then actually St. Baldrick's social will take them from there, and they do a phenomenal job with them. I love their team there. And for me personally, a lot of it's Instagram and Twitter. I kind of bounce between the two for different reasons on storytelling. Because of the photography background, I do like Instagram slightly more. But obviously the connections with Twitter go deep, so I tend to hang on tight for that one. And I have a couple new apps that I like too, but I think maybe we'll talk about that later. So.
All right, well, drop those anytime you'd like. Everyone wants to know about new apps.
I mean, I can talk about them now. I like, for video, I like Cameo, which if you want to see what I do there, it's cameo.tv. / the name is Casie for my stuff.
Okay, so Casie, before you say anything, you know what really, so Kristen brought this to my attention and I didn't even see it, was a little video you did for a buffer chat that you were on.
Yeah.
So if you guys haven't seen it, I don't know if we have it queued up to show, but Casie was warming up.
Will probably tweet it out because she knows where that's located.
She was warming up her fingers and she was doing little exercises getting ready for a buffer chat. But it's funny because it's a story. It's still a story, and it was like, hey, this is what I'm doing to get ready for something I think is important enough to take an hour of my day from.
It's me being a big old dork. That's what it is.
But I think storytelling requires a little bit of that. It requires a little bit of quirkiness. It requires a little bit of
You have to have
weird.
fun with it. Yeah.
It requires you to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing about storytelling, really, though, is that it's just a lens into your life. That's all it really is. And so if you can't be authentic about it, if you can't, be genuine and show, your true self, then it's going to be very difficult and awkward to do it, for a brand or for anything else. And so, kind of being, having that humility to let the world see you for who you are and not being afraid or ashamed of that, I think that's one of the more really valuable things about being involved with social storytelling is that it requires you to kind of not take yourself too seriously if you do it right. There are people that don't do it right and take themselves way too seriously. But if you're genuine about it, then, you can not only have a lot of fun with it, but that vulnerability you share with people, kind of like you guys were saying, it helps you build authentic connections with other people. And that's, how can you really put a price tag on that? That's just invaluable.
You can't. Yeah, I think actually Kristen and I were talking about this the other day and how my quirky, sometimes stupid personality has gotten me far, just further in life than even my college degree, because people can see that that's a genuine personality. It's not me. You can't fake this stuff. Well,
isn't there a shift though? Hasn't there been a shift from we want a college degree, we want this, to hey, what can you actually do? Who are you as a person? Let me see what can you do for my company, what can you do for my brand. What do you guys think about that? Have you seen that as a shift overall, or
I think it's coming. I don't know that we're there yet. I think a lot of people are still hanging tight to that piece of paper that says they're so smart and they spent a lot of money. I only have
too.
Yeah, and hey, if you went that route, good God, all the more power to you. But I have a 2-year degree. I have, an associate's degree that probably means nothing. Didn't cost me a whole lot of money. Cost me a pretty penny. But I've more or less have always thought that if I can get into the door somewhere and I can have a conversation with someone and I can sit down and do what we're doing even here, I have a far greater shot than handing you a piece of paper that says I'm smart and I know how to spend money.
And pass the class and pass the test.
Yeah, you can mold me into what you want me to be almost once you get me in the door and kind of see all right, she's got these skills and she can talk to people. Talking to people is a far greater skill in life than math. Math is kind of important.
Math is hard.
Algebra. I don't think I've actually used algebra since I was in 7th grade.
I've retired from math. I'm not doing it.
I would say Excel maybe sometimes. But
Can't you just do it in Excel? Really?
Yeah, pretty much. But I think, to your point with schooling, that was something big for me. I always thought that, after I finished my 4-year, I'd go and get my MBA. After school, I worked for about 3 years. Just, head into social. Didn't really, now I could say this without having, any fear. But, at the time it was kind of hey, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I know that social is really important, and I'm just going to work my butt off and just really learn everything that I can, just go in head first and see where I come out of it. And, 3 years later, I leave the wine industry, boo-hoo. It's I'm a little sad, I miss wine a little bit. But, I made the promise to myself I would try and go the startup route to, really just go in head first. At least with a startup, you're still making money. You're not, going to grad school and accumulating $100,000 in debt and, and not learning nearly as much as I think you would, getting into a small environment. So a lot of my friends that I've talked to, I've told them, I'm hey, if you can, just join a startup, get your experience there. You're going to learn a lot about business development. You're going to wear a lot of hats, and a lot of these tech companies are real social. They're social geniuses. They know how to use these channels to share their brand stories. So that's what I've recommended to everyone.
There was a question I noticed, and it was from Cheval. Everyone kind of knows who Cheval is, right? Have you guys met Cheval once or twice? So I need to find the question, but okay. No, I have to find it now. I
don't know Cheval, but I will after.
Oh, is it the do's and don'ts of social media?
He did. He said, "What are the do's and don'ts of when you're social storytelling? So I think it's a great question. And
I think Ben's already answered that question.
what's that?
I think it's be authentic, be real, and don't be an asshole. Wait, can I say that on here?
You can swear, absolutely. But
We can swear and drink on here? Oh my god.
this is a conversation, guys. This is not
I think that's why I was invited.
there's no there's no scripting here. We're just having fun. So answer the questions however you feel just.
Yeah, this is definitely a new way to work, isn't it?
This is my favorite chat ever.
Hashtag new way to work, right?
Right.
It's just about authenticity. I mean, that's what builds a community. That's what people want. That's what I love about the city that I live in. Is like the people that are here are great. They're authentic, and the people that I surround myself with are great. And that's why I want to be around them. I think it's the same thing online when you're building a brand or personality or whatever it is. If you're authentic and real and trying to be a part of someone's circle on social media, then you're authentic. But if you're a jerk, if you're an asshole, or you're not authentic, and people realize that, they'll call your bullshit fast. And I think those are clear and simple my do's and don'ts of social media. You know, be real, tell who you are, be authentic and genuine.
Now, if you want to get into like the nuts and bolts and not more of the high level stuff, I would say, you know, aside from being the authentic self, you know, being transparent, being engaging, being you know, a real person, is also you have to be consistent. I mean, you can't start telling a story, do it for a couple weeks, and then just drop off the face of the earth, and then come back and expect to tell your audience. It's not going to happen. You know, you have to give in just as much as you're expecting to take out. You know, I heard a great comedian a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about, you know, what really changed his career is when he stopped going into these things trying to get laughs, but trying to give people a reason to laugh. And so it's not about what you take out of it. It's not about how many people watch your video, how many people retweet your tweet. It's about what did you give to change somebody's life for the better? What did you do to enhance someone's life? If you're not giving, then you're not sharing anything. You're just taking and sucking out of whatever community you managed to put together.
Solid.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty big point. I've years ago I had a streak on Facebook where I was posting pretty consistently, and then I didn't for a couple days because I just wasn't in the mood. And people were like, "Are you like messaging me? Are you okay? We were looking forward to your post. You know, we wanted to know what you were doing." And I was like, "Yeah, I just didn't feel like posting today." You know, but it was like a big deal. But that's to the credit of you have to be consistent. You know, I don't usually go more than a day or two posting on Instagram. You know, even if it's just one little thing, I try and, you know, if I go that couple of days and I'm like, oh, I haven't posted something, I better find something. You know, it's usually something that relates to the day. You know, I'll find something. I got 24 hours.
Well, it's funny you say that because, like, and I don't want to cut off Ashley, but for me,
but he's going to.
But I'm going to anyway. Because
You didn't even
welcome to the Northeast.
Just how I roll. I'm from Connecticut, yo. I noticed that, you know, even with Meerkat, because that's where I've been storytelling, is Meerkat. That's, to answer the question, that's been my realm. When I don't do my evening drive home because maybe I had a phone call or I just felt like driving home that night, or I don't do my morning drive-in, I'll get, hey, are you gonna stream again? Are you know, where are you? Are you doing it? Are you okay? And I didn't do it for a weekend because I was in Chicago, and people were like, "Where did you go? Are you still there?" And I'm like, it's like, yeah, I'm alive. I'm trying to have experiences so I can tell stories. But again, once you start something in one medium, I think it's very difficult to step away from it. And I think that's also something that people don't understand. Like, we'll go back to what Brian Fanzo said, where like, hey, you're connecting with people even though you're in another experience at the moment, because it's hard to not provide that once you've been providing it consistently. So it's funny, you know, that you both mentioned the consistency, because I think that's one of the definite do's of storytelling. But I know that Ashley has a good point, so I want her to bring it up on air.
Yeah, I mean, just because of, you know, our platform, you know, my biggest thing about the social storytelling is it needs to be concise and it needs to be short. And I was reading recently about a study that the average person, and it was done by a major government study, the average attention span of humans today is 8 seconds. A goldfish has a attention span of 9 seconds. We are 1 second shorter than a goldfish. So to kind of think about, okay, well, what is my strategy going to be now for storytelling? You're like, crap, I've got 8 seconds to really dial someone in and just give them the whole shebang. And it's funny, working with video, it gets even more difficult because you're like, okay, great. Now I have to realize that the first 8 seconds needs to reel that person in. Otherwise, I'm going to lose them for the next 30 seconds. It's just one of those things that you start reading these studies that, our attention span's dropping, and then, people are being overwhelmed. It's like, how do we communicate these stories in the shortest way possible, but, the most powerful way possible? So it's been interesting, and, you see these networks and they're starting to become more and more condensed versus, Facebook that has, you can leave an essay on there. Not as many people tune in anymore to that kind of stuff. They see it and they're like, too long, didn't read. That's one of my favorite comments I ever see. But
at least they're honest, right? I mean,
yeah.
Authentic.
Yeah.
It's funny you should mention. It's funny you should mention 8 seconds, because I was just having a conversation today with somebody about Snapchat, and when someone puts a 10-second picture, I'm like, oh, I have to go tap. This is way too long. Come on, 3 seconds tops. Let's go.
Tap that screen.
Yeah.
Wait, is that really how it works? Because I'm not the best on Snapchat. So 10 seconds.
If you're putting a picture and there's no text on it, do not make it 10 seconds. I'm passing over that.
All right. Now I know how not to mark Ben. Wow. Okay. So speaking of that, and kind of we're talking a little bit about platforms here, and we've talked a little bit about it. So let's just continue that conversation. But how do you really tell a good story on Snapchat? What do you do? And I want specific examples from your story. So if you haven't watched Ben's Snapchat stories, they're great. First of all, they're some of my favorite stories on Snapchat. One, because I know him, and I think that goes back to the point. I forgot who said it on the onset. It was Ben, right?
That would be me.
Your storytelling to people you know. So here I am. I know Ben. I love watching his stories. Ben, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about what you do to ensure people are watching your stories on Snapchat. And then I also want you to talk a little bit about some of your little Snapchat projects.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, when I first started getting into Snapchat, I'm by no means a Snapchat celebrity or anything like that. I mean, I'm not getting hundreds of thousands of views or things. But, one of the things that I've noticed is that I consume almost more than I produce on Snapchat. So I'm not going on there and producing, stories or whatever, and then just expecting people to come to me, and then I just leave my, recent updates just completely untouched. I'm going through and I'm watching people. That serves a couple of things. Number one, I don't want to just be asking for things and not give anything back. Again, to that point I was talking about earlier, I want to be able to actually, stand up what I'm asking people to do. Stand up behind it and say, hey, I want you to watch my story. Well, why don't you ever watch my story? I don't want to get into that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to genuinely be interested in the people that I follow. The other point is I learn a lot from other people. A good storyteller is a listener. And if you can't listen to other people, you cannot compose or create a good story. So I'm all about consuming more than I produce. I want to bring in more than I'm putting out, for the most part. But how I do it on Snapchat, well, I look at what are things about my life that to me seem normal, but to somebody else might be interesting. I'm really weird, I guess, that way, because when I see the little minutia of other people's lives that they consider to be just routine, and I'm like, well, that's a little bit different than what I do. I kind of focus in. Maybe it's an ADD thing. But, I really try to show people, what my life looks like. Again, the lens on my lifestyle and my everyday life. I talk about the things that are most important to me, like my family. If you follow me on Snapchat or any platform for that matter, you see my kids, you see my wife. Sometimes she's not happy about it. But you see all those things because that's me. That's who I am. And so I'm trying to show people little glimpses into my life of that. But I also try to make it a little entertaining. I'm not going to try and, use up 10 seconds for every part of my story to where people are like, oh, here we go. Okay, I get it. You're walking, right? What big deal? Don't need 10 seconds of me walking. Nobody cares. But, I'm trying to show people little glimpses into what's going on and try to be respectful of their time and their attention and what's important to them. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I did a lot of talking.
No, I think that's good. I'll echo what you said, Ben, if I can. I think it's something to be said that showing what might be routine to you might be interesting to somebody else. And, that's what I love Snapchat for as well, is like the travel that I get to do is fun. It's great. And I want to share that and show that with everybody. And I feel like, that's something that a lot of people may not have the opportunity to see or do in some of these places I get to go. So I just try to create stories that are, just out of the norm that for most people. You know, I feel like
Exactly.
I
By the way,
go for it.
by the way, Jason can say that because he has amazing sushi. We were just talking about that earlier.
I Snapchat a lot of sushi, a lot of beverages, and
A lot of
that's about it.
a lot of traffic cone throwing in the middle of Charleston
No comment.
with Jason Keith, who hopefully is watching right now.
Jason Keith is watching.
Good. What's up, Jason?
Busted.
Hey, and I want to give before Casey or Ashley answers this question, I do want to shout out Hessie Jones, who was supposed to be a guest tonight, or not on this topic, but had a little miscommunication. But Hessie, if you're watching, I know she's on the Twitter chat. Hessie, thank you for being cooperative, and I look forward to having you on another week, another episode. So thank you for being patient. I appreciate it. Casey.
What question are we on?
We're talking. Are you drunk?
On the beer.
Casey,
No.
drinking?
Okay, time out. No, I'm going to defend that one. I've had like 3 sips of this, maybe, and I'm
All right,
Russian, so heck no.
That one.
Vodka. You drink vodka. Be strong like ox.
Yeah, if I had my choice, it would be
Strong
that.
like bull. All right. No. How do you tell a good story on whatever platform you're using, or a platform that hasn't been talked about yet? How do you feel a good story is told there? What are you doing to tell good stories? Just talk to that point.
I think like for me, it's going again. I mean, now they kind of stole our answers because they went first, but it's keeping it concise. It's knowing, being a photographer and kind of having that eye kind of helps, because I when things catch my eye, I'm assuming they're going to catch at least some other person's eye somewhere along the line, and then just putting my spin on it. So for Instagram, I like fun imagery, funky stuff. I don't know. You'll see anything from theme parks. We went kayaking with manatees over the weekend, to drinks and food, and I don't specialize in one thing, dare I say that. That's another hot topic of mine, because I don't think I have to be one thing to please all people. I'm a bunch of randomness, so that's what you're going to get on those sites. I just, that's not me to be like, I only like one thing. Well, that's boring. So I like that, and I actually like this new app that I just discovered from a friend a couple days ago called Stellar, where it's kind of like you can create like these little notebooks kind of, or books, and you can create it with photos and text and video, and it just kind of comes together and looks like a nice little package. I don't know, it's cute. So that's another cool app to check out. I'm still learning how to play with that one, but I've published like 2 or 3 different little books on there, so that's been fun too. But yeah, just to keep it concise and keep that personality in it, and I don't shy away from anything. Like, obviously I don't post everything that goes on in a day, but if a day sucks, I don't shy away from telling people that either. I think that's important. It's not all Care Bears and rainbows over here.
But it's true. I mean, it's definitely true. There's not every day is, and that's what's real about it. We talk about authenticity. Yarby, you want to talk about authenticity? Well, everything is not perfect, so that's great. Ashley, do you have anything to add on that topic?
I guess the biggest thing I see with social storytelling is the hook, and it's so important. I mean, you look at tweets, like, what is the hook? Is it the first couple of words, or is it Facebook? Is it like the first sentence? So it's really, it applies to what platform you're publishing on, but the hook, I think, is like the biggest thing that people don't, there's a lot of, image enthusiasts, but there's not enough, clever wordsmiths out there. And although an image is, more bound to catch our attention, the words is what creates that second move. So, it's interesting. I look at stuff, and now my attention span's pretty short. So, I'm reading, maybe at most a sentence before I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, I don't care. It's pretty much the same fashion that magazines or news articles have been written. That very first paragraph is so detrimental to, someone actually going through and reading the whole thing. Even though it might not share everything, it's, leading people to make that, call to action. So I think that's the biggest thing for social storytelling.
It's really interesting too, because you look at like different platforms, like I might write something and it not resonate with a person at all, or they just go completely like, ugh, I hate that, you know?
Yeah.
But to another person, they might read it and go, oh, she's onto something, you know? So it's one of those things too, where you can't rule out something one way or the other, because to one person it might be their treasure. I don't know. You know, it might be that one thing that clicks with them. So.
You know, and a little bit of little bit of personal experience here. I went live to Meerkat with karaoke, and my boys Jason and Ben here know, because they've watched and mocked me numerous times on my karaoke singing.
I'll never get that time back.
Well, no, it's funny. No, you will not. But you enjoyed every second of it, Yarby, and you know it.
My wife loves it, by the way.
I love Jessica, so shout out to your wife, Jess, because she's awesome. No, so you know basically what stemmed from a ruined date that I didn't go on ended up me sitting here drinking some whiskey and singing freaking karaoke. But here, you know, on a normal night, I would have been like, no way am I doing karaoke. No one's going to want to watch this. And I still thought no one would watch it. But yet, at the end of the night, there was like, I don't know, 1,000 people that watched it. I had Mark Andreessen, you know, the father of all VCs, commenting on it. It was ridiculous. So you never know who's going to actually watch or care to watch or enjoy your content. So that's why I've been telling anyone, clients, friends, go for it. Just if it's a good thing, bad thing, good day, bad day. If you don't think anyone wants to watch it, if you think someone wants to watch, sometimes the stuff we think people want to watch is the stuff that no one ends up watching.
That's usually how it happens.
Fantastic, you know, and then no one, people are like, yeah, it kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But
I think those kind of things, Vince, I think it's great for personalities and brands, because I've said it before on the podcast, but it truly embodies what real-time marketing is. It's right there in the moment. It pulls people in the real time, and it keeps them engaged in the real time. And again, to what Ashley was saying a little bit ago, it's visual. You know, people can watch it and consume it. They don't have to read anything. They have the attention span. If it's good, they're going to stay there. So somehow they managed to stay on yours, even though it was, you know, mediocre, but it was still good. He said, but it was still visual, and people stayed there. And, you know, to ride the coattails of Ashley's stat earlier, and people process visuals 60 times faster than text. So if it's a picture like Casie was talking about on Instagram, they're going to consume that. If it's you on Meerkat, they're going to take that in, and it's going to just embody the message of what you're trying to get across.
So Yarby, you just said something that so we had a viewer, Andrew 7000 at Andrew 7000. He made a comment, and he said, "Are we entering an era where compelling stories are impossible without video and photos, or is there still good room for conversation?" And Yarby, you primarily tell stories through your blog on Wild Letters. Meanwhile, everyone else, well, actually, Ashley kind of is doing a shorter form of what you're doing, and then the others are using photo video. So is there still room for good conversation, or are we moving towards all photo and video? What do you guys think about that?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I would 100% agree. If you don't have a photo or you don't have a video, it's, to people, they're like, you're not trying hard enough. And everyone's, you know, standard is way up here, and we're trying to tell people, hey, we're not wizards. We can't just, you know, we can't just pump this stuff out all day without, you know, us making you pay us 200% more for whatever we're, you know, selling or offering. But the standard's there, and people want to be entertained. So people are, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk's talked about this, you know, companies becoming media companies, and, you know, providing that type of content, and, you know, making like magazines and elaborate newsletters. And so it's just where we're moving. And, you know, it's either A, you go with it, or B, you fall so far behind that when you want to play catch up, it's going to be very, very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I can't remember the last time I posted without like a photo or video or something either. Like, I really can't
It
remember.
almost makes me cringe a little bit when I'm just doing a regular tweet, you know?
Yeah. It drives me nuts when people like post.
It's like there's nothing to look at.
Yeah,
I'm like, no one's going to read this.
I think the only time I do is on Facebook, and it's usually just because I start off with some kind of like catchy hook to like make people want to read the rest of it, and then they leave, you know, just ridiculous like comments on my stuff, or whatnot.
It's all about
Vincenzo, you follow me on Facebook.
Yeah, I know. Did you get your car fixed, by the way?
Oh my God, that was an ordeal and a half. That was I was basically trapped up in Healdsburg, and I mean that's not awful. I was at a winery, so it wasn't
But
that.
I couldn't stop reading. Like I had to read it because you hooked me in with your first line, and I'm like, what happened? And I ended up following the whole damn thread all day.
Yeah, I know. It's people get so like heated, and I mean, I everyone tells me they're like, you should have your own TV show. The shit you write on there is so ridiculous, and I'm like,
Well, if you want one, I have one for you if you're interested. But
oh yeah.
so I want to here's a question I want to ask because I'm very very interested. And I know the audience is interested. Who's doing it right? So brands, individuals, besides yourselves, who's doing it right? Where are they doing it? So like what platforms are they using? Who's doing it? Who's doing it right? Because someone brought up Vayner. Ashley, you said Vaynerchuk, but VaynerMedia, and I know Ben has got me hooked on the VaynerMedia Snapchat. But they tell some pretty cool stories. I mean, they're using it as employee empowerment, right? Am I right, Ben? You talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I'm actually a really big fan of how they're doing that. Not only am I a fan of VaynerMedia because I'm a Gary Vaynerchuk fanboy, but the idea is that every day just about they rotate from their staff in either New York or San Francisco or LA, and somebody different almost every day has control of that Snapchat account, and so they're posting up stories all throughout the day of their life. I watched one the other day of a guy who lives in Venice Beach or something, and he was going into the office in LA, and then they had a whole ordeal of where's Greg, and so they're following throughout the day looking for this Greg employee. Well, it ends up he was at Coachella, so that's why he wasn't at work. But it's really getting an insight into the people behind the brand. It's not about the brand. I could care less what VaynerMedia does right now because I'm more interested in the people there. I think that's a great example of people that are doing it right. I noticed earlier Chris McCoolin was talking about Disneyland and Disney World. They are fantastic on Snapchat. I mean, it's like being at the park sometimes, and it's really fun and engaging and everything else. Getting really creative, and then everybody knows I'm a huge Taco Bell fan, so I mean, I'm always going to say they're doing it right. But that's just the way it is.
I think the biggest thing that we need to look at is we can go all day about these massive companies that are doing it right, but I think like the real heroes that are out there are like the little guys who are just like rocking it. You look at some small businesses on Instagram, and I'm like, hey, I'm like so happy when the little guys are like doing it right. And it was this issue we had in wine, and these wineries, they had maybe a handful of people running the show. And the ones that were actually really owning it and using social to like share their stories, they were the they were the top guns. They understood where media was moving and that traditional marketing wasn't working for them anymore. And so the people who made early moves were really benefiting from it. But I think I could sit here and be like, oh yeah, Red Bull's rocking it, but Red Bull's got a massive army of marketers and millions of dollars to make this happen. So it's hard to say like who's actually doing it right because we have to look at a scale of how big the team is and their budget, and so it's just one of those things that it's hard to define. Definitely there's companies who are doing cool things, but if I had an agency helping me out every day, I'd probably be doing some pretty cool stuff too.
I completely agree with you.
Absolutely.
You brought that fact up, Ashley, about like small businesses, because that was what I was thinking about earlier, and how can they be incorporated in this story that we're telling about storytelling and social media. And there's one local business here in Charlotte, North Carolina that I learned most of my storytelling from, and it's a company called Imperial Black. They're a fashion company. You can find them on @Imperial Black. They're a fashion company for men's shirts. They do great high quality men's shirts, but their story isn't about shirts. Their story is about where the shirts can take you and what the shirts can make you. And they tell just a fantastic story through and through their brand. And it's about the men of the past and who are truly men and sartorial men. And they coined this phrase that I've picked up and love. It's called sartorial travel, and it just leads on to so much. And they're a small shop here in Charlotte, North Carolina, that not a whole lot of people know about, but they're still churning out a good amount of business through their storytelling that's not really about shirts.
Sweet. I'll have to check it out.
Well, and kind of like what you guys are talking about, these huge companies can do fantastic. They've got the resources to do it, But those small businesses, and I'd even make the argument that even personal brands. I mean, you are your own media company. Either you project your image into the world, or it's made up for you by somebody else, and you have no control over it. So I see a lot of people that, on the personal level, manage their own personal brand very well and tell their own personal story, and I think that's just as exciting as the small businesses. Like Yarby was saying, that's awesome. When you don't have to storytell around your product, but around your people, you're doing something right.
Absolutely.
I agree, and I think like my short list was the personal side of it. Like, there are certain people I follow on Instagram that just every time they post, I'm like, I want more. You're only posting one photo. I want more, And so I think those people are just really like a dime a dozen to me. I mean, there's a lot of kid photos and dog photos and all those kind of things, but I think when you look at it, the people, and a couple stand out to me. Eugene Brown is one of them, and then I'm a cuckoo, I think. IMACUCKOO. He's out of Orlando, but I love everything this guy posts.
I like his name already.
Yeah, I hope I said it right, because I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't know. And then If It Wags is actually.
The Heineken.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Has anyone seen me pick it up? No. I'm a magician. But If It Wags on Instagram is really good too, especially if you like dogs. It's a German short hair, I think two of them, and she's rescued them, and they take photos. They're kind of these dogs that like stand on cars and do all sorts of weird things, but they have like these expressions that like everything she posts, I'm like, I just want to hug them. So those are kind of the ones that like I'm looking, those, even when I miss a day or whatever, I'm going to their pages and looking to see what they're doing. So that's kind of cool too.
Ben, I don't know if you told me about Off the Grid Phil. Was it you who talked about Off the Grid Phil, or was that?
No, that was Cody.
Cody. So Off the Grid Phil on Instagram. I don't know if you guys can kind of see but this is his feed on Instagram, okay? And he pieces pictures together to tell stories if you look at the feed without clicking into each photo.
It's amazing.
So
that's really
every
cool.
single one of those is 6, 9, 12 photos kind of pieced together to make one image. And he tells like really cool stories about places he's been, cities, really cool stuff. And it's just, I'm blown away. So I like his stuff. That was kind of one guy I wanted to highlight on this question. Anyway, that's my point. But we're getting to the top of the hour. I don't want to go too far over, even though we started late. But there's one thing that we do here every week. It's called the life hack. And I'll start with Ashley. We'll go left to right on my screen. So Ashley, Ben, Casie, and Yarby again. And it's just share one of your daily secrets that gets you in the mindset for success. What do you do to start your day? What really gets you aligned with what your goals are? And the conversation we've had is great. We could talk about this for hours, but to respect everyone's time, I want to kind of jump into this life hack before everyone else leaves us and then there's no one watching.
People are watching?
we had like 35 viewers. Well, we still do. We have about 31.
Oh wow.
Yeah. There's people watching us. People are watching us.
If I'm
brush my beard
those
for this.
people.
So what do you do, Ashley, to get in the right mindset for success for your day? How do you get it started?
Working at a startup, we wear a lot of hats. We do a lot of random projects. So, I go into the office and, hey, let's is always a new day. You never know what's going to happen when you go in. So, honestly, to get my day going, I exercise every morning. I go running. I know people will try to tell me to like hit the weights or whatever, but running just really allows me. I can't tell you how many times I hear, well, do you do your weights? It's like, oh my God, please. I go running because it helps me kind of like clear my mind and just kind of like mentally prepare for the day while listening to great music. So that's honestly how I start my day, is bumping dance music really, really loud and running down by the water. What can you say? It's San Francisco. It's beautiful. So.
Hey, so she runs. I'm not going to lie to you. For me, it's coffee. I need my coffee. I have to get up physically in the morning. I take my dog for a walk. I don't just take her out to go to the bathroom. I actually go for a walk in the morning. again, it's just to get moving and kind of get the blood flowing. I completely agree with you. You have to get moving in the morning somehow, but I do need the coffee as well because without that, my day just doesn't start. So, Ben, what about you? Give me your life hack, buddy. Life hack. Hashtag
my life hack. Well, I would say, one of my biggest things, and I don't even know if I think my video is frozen right now, so I don't even care.
Just talk.
No, a life hack for me, gosh, probably just coming home and being with my family, being around the people that are most important to me. That's probably my biggest life hack because what it does is it puts everything into perspective. If you're not getting the reach or the traction you want out of something or specific, campaign or story that you're trying to tell, in the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. What really matters are to the people around you love you and respect you and want you to be around them. So, when I come home and my son runs up and gives me a hug, I feel like, all right, this is what life is really about. Everything else is just icing on the cake. And so being able to, kind of operate in those social circles is great, and I love it. It's my passion. But at the end of the day, if my family's not behind me, then none of it matters.
Yeah, I think you're the only one. Are you the only one on the panel with kids and a family and married?
I got 2 of them.
Damn.
I don't know. I can't speak for Yarby.
I have a dog. I have a dog.
Yarby has a dog. I know Yarby has a dog.
That's all that I know. That's all that I know of.
Yeah, Ben, I a lot of respect, and I'm not just saying this, but a lot of respect for that. Having a family, that's just like a totally different level. I'm not even there yet, so a lot of respect there. And what gets you going at the beginning of the day, that's amazing. So a lot of kudos to you, buddy. Casie, don't say Heineken.
No, I would not start a day with that. I'm more of a coffee drinker myself. But for me, it's just a choice every day to wake up and be happy because, that whole life's too short thing is very true. Some of you who know my story even deeper know that I've lost a younger sister about 11 years ago. And so there was definitely a moment where I just had to decide to wake up and be happy and not let anyone get in the way of that. And God help the people that do because they don't stand in my way very long. So it's really just an active decision every day to keep on going and do the hustling and yeah, for me it's a choice.
Yarbs, I gotta hear what kind of crazy shit you do because I'm sure there's something.
Oddly enough, it doesn't start with mason jars.
Weird.
So here's a little social storytelling about how I started my day off. So a couple of years ago, I was watching NFL pregame shows. That's a Sunday thing that you do. There might have been mason jars involved in that, actually, now that I think about it. But we were watching NFL pregame shows, and something really cool in 2 different segments, 2 different shows. One about Aaron Rodgers and one about someone else that I can't remember. And they were talking about how Aaron Rodgers starts his game off, and then the other show was talking about how the other quarterback starts his game off, and they were both very similar. And what they do is their very first play of the game is when they take over at quarterback, they take a safe play. It's a short routine pass to their receiver, their tight end, and it kind of helps them gauge the athleticism of the receiver, the plays of the game, the way everyone else is playing around them. So they take a very safe short play. And I think that's very, very cool and very common for any other profession to take it to is like take a very small, safe play first thing of the day. Get that first small victory of the day. Get that first pass completed of the day. I'm not saying what that has to be. For me, it could be completing an easy task where I feel like I've got victory and control of my day already out the gate. But I choose that one small thing that I can complete and I can get victory over, and then I move forward from there. And so I learned that lesson from Aaron Rodgers, and I started taking that through my day. It's like, all right, well, instead of trying to tackle the big task first or tackle my inbox first, let's find one task that I know I can actually complete in a short amount of time and feel like I'm already starting my day off with a step of victory and for a shout out to Nicole DeLonzo, a victory ritual.
Hey, Nikki from Social Fresh. Right? Is she watching? She better be watching.
She better be watching.
Nikki and Keith better be watching.
They were texting me a few minutes ago they were watching, so I'm sure they still are.
Awesome. Well, guys, listen, you were all fabulous guests. And I was going to say, I love what you all said about starting your days. It's so important. And I liked what Yarby said, starting your day with a little victory. It just puts you in a better mood for the day and to get started. And that's sometimes, for those of us that are in a daily grind 9 to 5, and it's, let's face it, not everyone works in like their favorite environment in the world. Not everyone works in that hey, I get to shoot hoops during lunch and go sleep in a sleeping pod, and we don't all have that. And granted, we all want to get there. I'm sure a lot of us want to be there, but we don't have that. I mean, I know myself, Ben, we work in offices. You know, we have a regular 9 to 5. It doesn't have a basketball hoop or anything like that. So for me, it's that's huge. And it's a great point. You just actually hit a light bulb went off for me, Yarby, when you said that. So thank you. But I want to thank you all for joining tonight. It was a great panel. I mean, you guys are awesome. I thought that was a really good conversation. We didn't go too far over considering the tech difficulties. Don't leave once we stop the broadcast, because I think Kristen wants to come in and just say hi to everybody, because she was messaging me and she's like, I love everybody. So she wants to come say hi. But let me sign off, and then we can talk after. This is Vincenzo Landino, host MCEO Talk. Thank you for joining us for yet another episode. Join us next week, same place, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Hashtag MCEO Talk. Look for the topic later this week, as well as our guests. Until then, keep it classy, Twitter.